Hi guys, welcome back to another video. I wanted to talk today about my real big take of the disappointing results from the midterms. Of course, we had to wait a lot, many days, even more than a week now for some of these races, and the biggest disappointment to me was honestly Nevada Senate. They actually flipped the governorship, the Republicans, but they lost the Senate seat, they lost the 3 competitive House seats, and they actually lost the competitive House seats in practically every swing state, maybe with the exception of Arizona, where they won 1 comfortably and 2 narrowly. But when it comes to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Illinois, and Ohio, it went terrible for the Republicans. Now, Republicans did terrible mostly across the country in the competitive states with, well, there were some big exceptions. I mean, New York, they did extremely well in New York thanks to Lee Zeldin. He basically gave Republicans in the House thanks to 4 or 5 seats that would not have flipped or stayed Republican without him. Of course, Brandon Williams' seat, that was not a flip, that was a Republican seat held by John Katko. And of course, Florida. So New York, Florida, and possibly California really outperformed the rest when it comes to the House elections. Otherwise, it was pretty bad, really. Now, there are some differences in these news networks. CNN has called Lauren Boebert the winner in Colorado, and her opponent has conceded. And we will probably see Kevin Kiley win. I know that Newsmax have called him, and Valadeo is so far ahead that Republicans will probably get either 221 or 222 when it's all said and done. Still need to win the runoff in Georgia, because it is a very big difference whether the Democrats need to count on both Manchin or Sinema, or if it is enough that only one of them decides to vote against. So a lot of big takeaways, but let me show you what I mean about these margin types. If we start by looking in California, where the districts are finished counting, Republicans improved over Trump in all of them, especially here in the southern part. That's of course where they are finished. Young Kim improving by 16 points, which is a lot. It wasn't quite enough along the coast. So now, for the first time in a very long time, Republicans will not have a single House district on the Pacific coast. I believe that's where we are headed right now, yes, because of Joe Kent's loss. Of course, Alaska will be the possible exception, but that's not too likely either. But yes, back to comparison, and let's take a look at the Midwest here. There are some red arrows pointing a lot to the right, which basically says that Republicans did well here. They won the popular vote by between 3 and 4 points. But look at J.R. Majewski, outperformed by Trump, 16 points difference. And the competitive districts in Michigan, all of them. Let's see, Scholten, Slotkin, Kildee. When it comes to John James, I believe he's, that one also trended Democratic. It could not afford to trend a lot more Democratic. Same thing in Pennsylvania. In the districts that matter, Cartwright, Wild, outperformed by Trump's margins. And the same was sort of in the case, if you look at Illinois, the big red arrows here are that's a safe Republican district, that's a safe Democratic district, and so on, safe Republican, and so on and so on. So, yeah, even New York City. I mean, this is compared to Trump. So you have both competitive districts here that Republicans won, and you have a safe Democratic district like Jamal Bowman, 15 points to the right. So Lee Zeldin also did a lot better in the New York City area. And yeah, that was the big takeaway. Republicans did not perform well in areas where the Democrats spent money. They performed well in some places. If you look at Alabama, Katie Britt won by 67 points, or with 67 points. Usually Republicans get around 62%. John F. Kennedy won outright in Louisiana with 62% of the vote. Usually Republicans are at 58 or 59% in Louisiana. Arkansas, 66% of the votes for John Boozman, while Republicans are usually at 61 or 62. So Republicans also outperformed here. It looked like a red wave in these states, and of course in Florida and New York. But the competitive states, again, Oz lost. Ron Johnson, which should have won by 5 or more, won by a point. And the rest is just so bad and disappointing that I can't really talk much more about it. But what we are headed for right now is, of course, that they will get 221 or 22 at the max seats. That's what seems likely. Alaska will probably re-elect Peltola, as she did a lot better in the first round now than she did in the special, and she still won the special. So I don't know. This is not the year to take back that seat. It's not. But what do Republicans need to think about? First of all, a lot of these candidates that struggled were certainly in the Trump area, but they most importantly have been endorsing the election theory, that the election was, I'm going to say the S word because I don't want to be, I don't want any reaction, but Majewski did terrible, John Gibbs did terrible, Don Bolduc in New Hampshire did terrible, and certainly the top of the ticket mattered a lot. I think that's what got Lori Chavez de Raymer above the line, because that one was expected to flip, but with so were many others. So thanks to Christine Dreisen, who did lose, I think that she did not have the same wave against her that many other Republicans had. Also, Darren Bailey actually did quite well. I believe his election is here somewhere, and the thing is, in a state that usually votes Democratic by 15 points... Oh, it's not here. Let's see, where is Illinois? He lost by about 10, or... Oh, okay, so now that all the votes are in, and he lost by more... closer to 12, really. But still, it's okay. We could have done better, and I'm also going to talk a little bit about how it could have been done better, but probably not in this video. It was overall a very disappointing night. Lee Zeldin and Ron DeSantis carried the Republicans above the top in the House, but they shouldn't have to. This should not have been a close election. And Republicans improved in all of these districts, so many red arrows, but they just did not improve where it mattered. Yes, the Republicans spent money in the competitive districts, but so did the Democrats. And it basically was a complete flop. Had they done 1% better, I think that we were talking about 5 more seats, and we would not have had so much suspense at all. But yes, candidate quality matters. A big important thing to learn about candidate quality, it's not being the moderate like Joe O'Dea. I don't think that the candidate quality was very high on him in his race. I also don't think it was with J.R. Majewski, a very different candidate, not physically but politically. So what do we mean with candidate quality? Well, you have people like Ron DeSantis. He's a perfect fit for Florida. Lee Zeldin was a very good fit for New York. Glenn Youngkin is for Virginia. Can I mention any other cases of this? It's quite hard, but Brian Fitzpatrick is a great fit for his district. You understand? Glenn Youngkin is certainly more moderate than Ron DeSantis, and Lee Zeldin is more moderate than Ron DeSantis. But they do well in their states because they are talking sense, and they are, well, not too conservative, but also not too moderate. If you look at the trends in the state of Colorado, Joe O'Dea did worse than Trump in almost every county. There were some, like in the suburbs of Denver, in Denver itself, but what reason do they even have to vote for him instead of Michael Bennet when they can just vote for Democrats, right? Mark Moiser did a lot better than Trump in California, as did Tiffany Smiley, but those states are too far gone for it to matter in any way. Tim Scott in South Carolina. Now, obviously, South Carolina and Tim Scott is a complete shit show of a Republican Party, so I'm not going to talk them up. Ted Budd, I think Ted Budd is a great fit for the state of North Carolina. It is just too much polarized, and he does not have a record yet to look back at. He will have later, but that's not the point. Anyway, this is a post-mortem, and a post-mortem of a great disaster. And in 2 years there will be a presidential election, and I do believe sincerely that it is better to win with someone like DeSantis than to lose with Trump. And that doesn't mean I would not vote for Trump in the general, I definitely would, but he has never cracked 47%, and after the 2021 Capitol riot and the fight against the 2020 election result, he is going to have even a harder time. So I definitely think the time has come for a new generation. People like Biden and Trump, they have to go, and people like DeSantis, Hawley, Laxalt, of course he lost, but he will come back in 24. They have to take over. So anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.